On this episode of Going Dork Reviews, we check out episode 6 of Lovecraft Country, Meet Me in Daegu. What an episode. In the guest seat once again, Mr. Sebastian Arnold. So let's get right to it.
Pop up in our spaceship, we got Sasquatch and Llama. One's a little shy, but the other's a real drama. Pinball, wizard, pinging our planets at most. Another job done, hit the lights, close the blinds. Find a remote, let them know it's true crime, space fly shit.
Welcome to Going Dork Reviews. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is my pleasure to present to you Lovecraft Country, Episode 6. My co-traveler along the way, who is journeying through the series, Mr. Sebastian Arnold's back. Hello,
howdy,
Sebastian.
Howdy. Thank you for having me again.
Of course.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Yeah, I can't wait. So we're getting pretty far into this, and I guess this is we're past the halfway point now. So this is it. We're over the hump.
Yeah.
And so this one, let's just start it how we normally do. My favorite part of the show, which is previously on Lovecraft Country. So episode 5, William making sort of this devil's bargain, and then Ruby, we see her step into these, basically to the role of a white woman, but when she's transformed, she only sort of it sort of fortifies her resentment for the racial divide, and Montrose unleashes Atticus's pent-up rage, leaving Letty deeply disturbed and sending Montrose into the comforting arms of his secret lover. So that's the slug for the last episode that leads us to this curveball, which when I first watched it, I've seen it a few times now, but when I first watched it, it was just so out of left field for me. And, it was like we were doing the Lovecraft stuff and we were doing like the monsters and it was all this sci-fi stuff. And then all of a sudden we're like, it's still there, obviously, but then we're just in the middle of this war, which obviously, after watch, you see the importance of this whole thing. But it was just a little out of left field for me.
I mean, it's like, honestly, what I say every single time we start one of these, it's like, you never know that you're actually watching this show when it first starts. It's like, wait, what is this? I thought I knew about how this show goes, and this has nothing to do with anything I watched before. And this one, I feel like really like takes it all the way there, because it's like none of the characters you've seen before, none of the places you've been before, and here we are at a movie theater. It's just like, okay, I guess this is like the show.
Yeah, huge Judy Garland episode. That was their vehicle, I guess, to which will come back. It's sprinkled throughout, but there is sort of a nice tidy wrap up at the end of Judy Garland that I want to talk about. But yeah, so we start episode 6, Meet Me in Daegu, in a movie theater, and we see Judy Garland playing, and there's only one other couple there that really, really wants to do some sexing, but obviously since Gia's in there, that they leave, and she takes over the theater and just starts sort of dancing, singing,
enjoying herself.
Yeah. It's one of these cold opens that you're talking about that really throws you. You're just like, what show is this? What?
And it's nice though, because it's like, as much as they are different, I feel it helps because, like we've been saying, all these episodes are very, very like character centered. As much as like all the other characters take place or come into play sometimes and sometimes not, where we just get a real sense of one specific character and how they're viewing things, depending upon the episode. And I like this one because right from that very beginning, it pretty much encapsulates, I think, much of everything that is going to be the driving force going forward. In the episode, in that, like, as she's doing all that dancing and everything and enjoying herself, it ends that sequence with us realizing that she's not doing any of that. Right. And she's just watching it and enjoying, and that's happening in her mind.
Well, or it's just a flashbacky thing, and then they're right back into the midst of the war and her being a nurse, and you know what I mean. She's miserable and covered in blood.
I just mean specifically before we like get into that, the just because like she's dancing around and whatnot, but after like that pauses, and then after that she's in the theater still, and it seems like she didn't dance at all, and she's just still staring at the screen. And for me, I mean, I don't want to like talk about too much of the future, but I feel like that has a lot to do with her. Like a lot of like what she is and her whole story kind of is like encapsulated in that little moment, even though we wouldn't know that obviously watching it in the first time, because it kind of just looks like, oh, this girl, like I would say they're trying to frame it like this girl is like, she's in this time. She really likes Hollywood movies. She's trying to express herself, but she can't really, you know what I mean? She is holding that type of stuff in,
right?
Which is a good thing to play off of. But we know after seeing it, obviously, that there's more to that, and there's more reason why that is.
Right.
And I really like how, like, they encapsulate it with all these like hints and things like that, but nothing too blatant. And it's interesting. It makes you guess and wonder and want to continue to watch.
Yeah, yeah. And then we move sort of outside fall 1949, Daegu, South Korea, and we see homemade kimchi being made, which I don't think I've ever seen in a TV show or a movie, which is kind of fun.
You know, that representation, it's coming up.
Yeah.
I'm loving it.
Yep.
Getting to see real, and that's another thing with this. It's like this show, I love that it's really like, you know, likes to pin itself in the home of all these different cultures. Like we've all, like, even with the black community, especially in this one, you're seeing like nice, very sincere moments, I think, rather than the ones that we all regularly know. And I think that's like the best thing, about this is because it helps us understand the differences, because we see them across culture,
right?
Across, like, even past culture, we see them in monsters. You know what I mean? It's like, and I feel like that last level, like taking it to the monster aspect, really, like, I think separates us enough for people to really understand the simpleness of what it is that's making us feel different and what it is we're all fighting against. You know, and I think it really, I mean, works and touches people easily. So I think they did a great job with that for sure.
That's very cool. Yeah, so they make some kimchi, and basically she overspices the kimchi, and you know, she worries that they won't have anything to eat in the winter, and you know, the Jia's like, no, we could just borrow from the neighbors, and you know, she I don't think she realizes that basically the entire family has been sort of blacklisted. So it seems, and then so, you know, they haven't been to Gimjong in years, and they're really hoping that Jia's hoping that this degree will bring some sort of respect back to the family. So you could tell that there's that pressure that they're setting up right there from the beginning. Like, all of this is, you know, obviously there's a war going on and yada yada, but she is trying to like regain her name, and we'll find out why here in a minute. But we move to I don't know if there's anything else about the kimchi scene, but basically, just some tension, and then I did want to say that there was a great line right at the end of that scene, which is from Uma, which is the only way for this family to be whole again is to bring home men. Which, if you have no context for that, it's just the weirdest sentence. to tell for a mother or whoever.
Again, it hits on some of like the stereotypes that they know the audience has, you know what I mean? Because it's like, they didn't mention anything about that or what that means, but you know, I mean, as they kind of continue on later, it's like the only way to extend that or get some higher ground, especially in that type of culture, is like through like marrying a wealthy man or a man that is like looking to do big things. And that's definitely, I mean, the time it was back then. So it's like, even though it's weird that she said it like that, it's like you think, oh yeah, she's trying to do all this stuff on her own, but ultimately it seems like the mother is just like, ultimately, you know, you got to get a dude because we need to do more.
So we move to the classroom, and they are studying dead bodies on the table. Some good old elementary dead body chest cavities in there from our old school days of working together. But yeah, so they're in there, and you can see that she's definitely separated from most of the other nurses or doctors in training. I'm not sure, can't remember. I think
nurses. I think they're
at that point maybe. But yeah, and you can see that there's a distinction between the two groups, and then the girls begin to gossip, and she sort of is listening. From there, we move to this basically a speed dating scene. And she's number 31 on the bingo card.
Yeah.
And she goes through a guy or two, and they're, obviously not her type and not going to work out. And she lands on one guy who like finally knows who Judy Garland is.
Right.
And it's all looking up, and then all of a sudden he X's her name out and he leaves, which is, you're obviously building her,
Yes, I like this part a lot, just because I think it extends a little bit more of what was going on in the very, very beginning, the cold opening and everything, because we get to see her goofiness, how much she just really likes movies and how much like she's like putting herself out there. She's a very genuine person, it seems.
Right.
And the fact that you would think that the dude was like, oh yeah, I see movies and all that, and it's great.
Yeah.
Would like link up and it'd be great. He's still just like, nah, that's not the type of girl I want. So it
severe
really, like,
left turn.
Exactly. So it really hits home again, like that it seems like things can't go right for her.
Right.
She's really struggling to get where even though she's trying, struggling.
Right. She does meet a friend there, another nurse, and this is where the seeds are planted for Gia and her mom, Uma, to sort of start butting heads. And one of the lines is that mothers don't always want what's best for us, and obviously we'll find out here in the next scene what that means and why that's sort of pointed. But so later we get to the bar. And we see a Gia you can sort of tell something's off here. I don't know if you noticed or felt that.
It's awkward. It feels like the people in the TV show know something that we don't as the audience. Everybody just seems like things are moving in a way that's, a little left, as you're saying.
Yeah, this is sort of the scene where we find out who Gia really is, and she spots an older gentleman at the bar, and it's an immediate connection. And I think after all the rejection, obviously she's any sort of look would do the job. But she takes him home. They get inside. They light she starts lighting candles, and then we see this. I don't know. How often have you seen a bed in the middle of a room? I think if you see a bed in the middle of the room and it's not round and spinning and not at a hotel in like the, upstate New York or in Pennsylvania somewhere in a wine glass, it just seems like such a weird thing to be it's
ceremonial, 100%. Like 100%. That like if you're not thinking that, you're not thinking.
Right.
Because that's like you said, beds are not in the middle of the room.
It's like the. I think we talked about the story of me putting the coins in the bed that shook. Did we talk about that? Yeah. So that's sort of but yeah, so it's weird. He's let in, and she disrobes immediately, and they begin sexing, and obviously we're seeing a lot of close-ups of her, and we just see that there's a blank stare in her eyes, and that there's nothing there romantically. It's something else, and at that point we start seeing these weird things come out of her. I don't even know how to describe these things, but they kind of look like hairy arms,
right?
Or branches, or I don't even remember what. What they're like tentacles, right?
Yeah, they look like spiders' legs or like
there you go,
some sort of tentacle. And it was very disturbing to be honest to see those things come out. Yeah, and you're just like, whoa. And but that made me feel like, okay, I'm watching Lovecraft Country.
That was the moment.
This is what I signed up for. This is the weirdness, and it got super weird, super fast.
Yeah, the visual of this is, all these tentacles start coming out of her nose first, and then her ears and her mouth, and then when her eyes come out, they go right to the eyes of the other person. So it's like this weird. It's like a mix of like headphone cables all wired up, it looks like, and she's naked on the bottom and he's like being held up, it's incredibly cinematic and beautiful, but you just see the entire flashes of this guy's life. So, obviously you can tell she's killing him, but you can also see that like she's learning every single one of these.
She was like downloading him.
Yeah. And then, a second later, he just sort of explodes into a blood pool.
Right. That was super intense.
Super.
Because like I'm seeing all that happen. I'm like, oh wow, maybe she just like sucks the soul out of these dudes, is what I'm thinking.
Right.
Like, maybe he'll just be like, he'll fall down or whatever, and then when he explodes, I'm like, well, okay. Like, I guess like it's pretty intense.
Yeah. Now it's I guess explains why the bed's in the middle, so it's easier cleaning. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, true.
You can, yeah.
I just didn't even think of that until just now. Huh?
Nah, I don't think that's it. But but yeah, so yeah, she just kills him, and blood goes everywhere, and then Uma comes back in and says 10 more. Right. So we kind of get the gist that we don't know why, but we kind of get the gist that she has this problem, this supernatural problem.
This is what she's doing with these dudes.
Yeah. So we head back to the theater, and we see a cartoon before a movie. And the good old MGM. I love that they use all the actual movies. It was, I guess they have to if it's going to be a Judy Garland episode. But yeah. So we inside we presume that they're going to watch another movie, and the theater starts shaking, and they all have to leave. And we see that the shaking is from tanks and U.S. troops showing up in the summer of 1950. On the streets, and that's sort of so the war is now in full swing,
right?
And I guess the sort of inclination is that her now it's gonna, her life is going to be interrupted even more, whereas like the things that she loves, maybe I'm reading into it, but is now going to be overtaken by this war that's coming into their
right. I mean, I don't think you're reading too much into it at all. I think that's like it's kind of mirroring what's been going on throughout the series, and just giving it, this is another perspective of like what it's like, that type of oppression and like change and things that's going to happen to this one person that's already got so much going on in their own life. To have this other fold come into it is like, a real slap in the face, a real like, it gets no more crazier than seeing tanks come across and propaganda and whatnot. Right.
All right, so yeah, let's see. From there, we move back to the house, and we see they're making some food. Uma is making this special New Year's soup with anchovy because she couldn't have. They don't have real beef. I guess there's a shortage because of the war, so she's trying to spice it up with a little anchovy. So she's making this special dish basically, and I think it's probably because she can notice. I don't know why she made the special dish. I mean, was it? I presume it was because she was starting to ask questions, and
I think it was more. Well, she just killed that dude, and it's only 10 more men left. And it seems like she's happy that she's like back on the path, and rather than like thinking so much about the other stuff that she was doing, like the nursing stuff, she's doing what she needs to do. With what, because we don't know what it really is, but whatever situation they got going on, and I think she wanted to, like say thank you and kind of like sweeten her, giving a little sweetness to like hopefully keep her on that path.
Right, gotcha. And then she sort of starts talking a little bit about what happens when she kills them, and that she retains their memories, and then you can start seeing the sort of headbutting between Uma and Gia. Because you could tell that there's something there, and that she doesn't, she's saying that the Americans are supposed to protect us, but they're here and they rape our women that they're supposed to be protecting. And she's really insistent on the fact that she should take as in kill more soldiers.
Right.
Which sounds like a perfect idea because nobody, like you're in the middle of a war and these people are, halfway across the globe. But, yeah, so from there, she sort of lets it leak that there's, if she kills 2 more, she'll lose the memories, which at this point seems a little, when I heard that, I was like, oh, okay, are you just sort of teasing her? Or is that true, do you think? Why 2 more?
I think
what I mean?
She was just like, again, that whole situation was like all lies. Like she just wants her to do this thing to finish whatever it is they got going on again, and that's why she's like saying only 2 more and it'll be all over. She has no idea about what it is. She just had to explain to her that it was even a thing. So it's like she definitely was just trying
Yeah,
to like
just
make sure.
saying whatever needs to be said to have her. Yeah. And then towards the end there, it's revealed that if she absorbs 100 souls, then the Kumo will release her.
Right.
So Uma's like, bring home soldiers. We can get we can get this done, and I can have my daughter back. Basically, is the gist. So yeah, we move back to the hospital, and it's the war is really in full swing now, and we see an American in there who's been shot, and he just freaks out and stabs her in the arm. And then sort of we see this quiet conversation in the corner between the friend nurse and this other doctor, which we don't really know anything about. But then later on the street when they're talking, we see that Jia is asking about him, and she's like, no, basically says that she can set them up. And from there, it sort of goes to she does bring up like the war, and this is where the nurse freaks out a little bit, because if you're caught talking about anything other than being anti-communist, they will probably just shoot you in the face.
Right.
So we see that sort of happen right then and there, where they have a little conversation about don't raise your voice. You shouldn't be saying that stuff out here. And then a truck rushes in with a crowd right behind it, must have been following the truck, and they're just chanting, kill the communist. And we see, I think that doctor, right, that was talking, being hung, basically.
Right.
Yeah, it was just it's a weird scene how those two things come together, because it's like, hey, don't talk about the war, and then the war shows up to them, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what it is. It's like, you can't avoid these things. These things, they're all around you, and then like, you can't be on the fence about it. And that, I feel like at this point for Jia, she kind of like continues with how she's thinking. She's like, all right, it kind of justifies, I feel like, how she feels about killing the soldiers, seeing that.
Jia knows that the Americans were just standing there while they just killed this guy. You know what I mean? So it's not like something, they're building this sort of playing field, basically. And at the end of it, a soldier smiles at Jia. And we cut to back inside the house, and it is just covered in blood again. So she's killed that guy. Yeah, I mean, this is another. Obviously, we didn't need the setup and didn't need all that stuff. So this was more about like towards the end, the mother coming in and helping clean, and we start learning about the father, and about the fact that he didn't love her the right way, which we learn a little later is. That she was raped apparently as a child. So yeah, and at this point is where Gi really starts to like stand up on her own 2 feet and say, listen, I'm not doing it anymore. And obviously the mom's trying to protect her daughter, and she says that her daughter's memories will come back once she completes this thing. Right. Gi starts singing this song out of the blue, and it's one that her mom taught her, sort of saying that, hey, I'm still in there. Whatever this thing is that's taking control of me is still there, but your daughter's still in there too.
Well, actually, I kind of got something different, because like you were saying, she says the daughter's memories are buried within. She keeps trying to like tell her that the daughter's memories are there, but we see like Jia, the way she looks and everything, and what she's talking about is like how she's kind of like going against that. And what pretty much what she says at the end when she sings that song, because she tells her, I don't got that. I don't have that song from you singing it. I never heard you sing it to me. I only have that song because I like seen in the dad, when she killed the dad, that he would hear it being like sung by like her while he was raping her. So it's not she doesn't have the memories of the girl. She just has all the memories of the other people, as well as the lifetime she's had while she was doing all that stuff inside. You know what I mean?
Much better said than my stumbly mess.
It's hard. It's very hard to understand, because like they don't say that. You know what I mean? They kind of talk around that the entire time, because you like through their conversation you understand that the mother wanted to kill the father, and did it by going to that shaman and getting the demon inside that would kill him when they had sex. But she didn't understand the price being that she would have all the lives of the men that she killed, and then thinking that the daughter is still inside this demon that was put inside, but the demon's pretty much saying,
right, yeah,
it's just me.
yeah, yeah.
Like and I've grown to love, you know what I mean? Which is also something to, I think about.
Right, yeah. So from there, I guess we move to a camp, and this is where it starts getting real. And actually, right before that, like, she really stands her ground. I should mention this too, is that she says, "I'm staying up reading tonight." So I thought that was one of those first talk back moments where, like, you know, I've reached the plateau of your power and I'm gonna jump over it. But yeah, later we see we're at a U.S. camp and a truck full of nurses arrive, Gia included, and they're ushered out and told to kneel. And you obviously can tell that something is not right and the shit's about to go down.
Right.
So basically the gist is that they found a spy, and it was that on their shift. So it was one of these ladies that is the spy, basically. And we see he basically asks, you know, who is it? And nobody fesses up. So he just shoots somebody in the face.
Yep.
And that obviously will cement the fact that, hey, he means business.
Right.
So yeah, this officer grills everybody one by one, and then runs out of bullets. And who comes over? None other than Atticus himself.
Shaky Atticus.
Shaky Atticus comes over with a gun and just immediately kills her. And you can tell this is not the same Atticus we've seen. This is a much different Atticus. He is cold, he is calculated, and you can tell he's there doing his job, however shitty that may be.
Right.
So at that point, the friend who she's made confesses, and they drag her away, and that's sort of the last we see of that scene. You know, we've seen these scenes before in movies, you know, of like, you know, the Nazi sympathizer, like, or you know, like being let out and,
right.
You know, you've seen it before, but this, to know that those people were there to help you, and just because of a mention of communism, literally kill 3 people.
Right. It's such a good moment because it's like, again, this is like, okay, this is the story's finally, I think you can begin to understand what's going on, because before it's like, all right, we're just with Gia and we're like doing whatever she's doing, and like that has nothing to do with what we're doing before. But now when we see Atticus come in where he is in his life, clearly not where we just left him, and getting to see him there, I think it's just, we're understanding the history of Atticus and have just learned the history of Gia. And like at this moment, the two of them kind of like intersect, don't really meet, but they like cross each other's paths very hard. And it's like, oh, okay, this is cool. And then we can go forward with, like, you know, the ramifications. And they immediately like show us what those ramifications are with them meeting again. And
so far I love the pull in the heartstrings here with Gia, and this is the point where, like, I made a friend. You know what I mean? Finally make a friend, and you shoot him in the face. Like,
right.
So you could see that she's had this rocky road, and then the war comes and that all gets screwed up. And then it's like, she has this huge, horrible secret, and she's, you know, so you could definitely tell that was the point where she's like, all right, you keep pushing me. But yeah, then we move to fall of 1950, and we see outside of, I guess it was the old hospital.
I think so.
And it's been closed down because obviously a communist sympathizer was caught, and then so they shut the whole thing down, which is just weird to me. You wouldn't, I don't know. It just seems weird that all these people are there to help fix your people, and then you're just like shutting hospitals down and shooting people in the face. But I guess that's war, right? I don't know.
That's war.
Yeah. We're back in the hospital. Everyone's covered in blood again, and they tend to a burn victim. And this is sort of where it starts tipping, and that storyline between Tick and her starts to really lean into each other.
Right.
She sees the guy who shot her friend Tick laying there, and he's bandaged and he's in pain, and it's raining, of course, and she doesn't know how to react, so she just pops outside and just cries in the rain, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like this moment a lot of, like, you could just tell she wanted to put a knife in his head. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, you could just tell.
She was beyond angry. It was something that she didn't like, I think after that moment that she had, she was like, I'm over this. I'm just going to really stick to like, you know, doing the nursing thing. I'm not even going to do the dude thing anymore. Right. She was really like, I'm going to, you know, be on my own thing. And then she immediately sees this dude and she's like, I'm going to kill this dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I have to kill this guy.
And oddly enough, it's her last kill in theory.
Mm-hmm.
That would be her 100th. So the story goes. Oh yeah, we have a tick moment here too. I don't know if you caught this, but inside, she comes back inside, and Tick has been trying to read and can't read because his glasses are broken.
Right.
And he has his little moment of like clearing the, you know, throwing things and doing his tick, his best tick impersonation. But yeah, so we see he's struggling. You know, he's been injured in the war and can't even read, which is his favorite thing in the world.
Right.
So we move back to G. Oz house, and she's eating with her ma. She explains that she's decided to take her 100th person, which is the soldier, to Tick.
Right.
And she tried. Basically, this is a little like soft intro for the two. A scene where they're just kind of, you know, feeling each other out, and you know, obviously the tension's there because you think she's going to kill him. And then we get to the point where he's basically asking her for help, saying, "Hey, can you read this book to me? I haven't read the ending yet, Count of Monte Cristo." And he only has a few chapters left, and she kind of just blurts out the ending. You know what I mean? She's like, "No, you know," obviously saying like she's read this stuff. She's very cultured in the ways of America and the literature and the films and yada yada. But her sort of point at the end is like, what would he do with life when he finally has it to himself? Which I think is a great line. And it's her issue. Obviously, it's probably why they picked Monte Cristo. But you know, I thought it was it's just a fun correlation between, and a really fun way of like playing together without immediately being like, why is she not killing him? Why is she not killing him? You know what I mean? Because we're starting to see like he's just a product of the system as much as she is. You know.
Yeah, and I mean, it also highlights, because when he tells her that and she says that ending, he kind of, I think they're feeling each other out, like you said. But again, we're thinking she wants to get with this dude so she could kill him. And Tick, we know Tick, and we know he just likes to read books. But normally, if a dude was like, "Yo, you want to read me this book or whatever?" it's definitely like a ploy to get with him. So she kind of shuts that down by being like, "All right, bro, here's the ending. Since you want me to read the book, you don't need to read the book."
That's the old like Netflix and chill, right? It's
exactly.
like it's like the original book. Hey, come read some books with me.
You want to read a book? But when he like receives that little return that she gave him. And he's like, yeah, I mean, he tells her pretty much that, yeah, that was what was in the movie, but that's not what's in the book. The book is different, which I think for a second, she's like a little like, oh, she's a little put off. She doesn't, not put off, I shouldn't say. She is
surprised,
taken aback.
Yeah,
exactly.
Taken aback, yeah.
Surprised by that he knew about that, and then kind of was actually understanding that he was actually just wanting her to read the book, which is like, again, like double surprise, because she was like super standoffish to him. And I think she kind of bails out after that. But then obviously that leads to them growing closer.
Right. Yeah. We cut to, I must, you know, be a time jump. We cut to later outside, and they're just tossing this ball around, which
just looks like so much fun.
It just looks, they're literally standing a foot away from each other, tossing each other the ball. I just don't get it. And then, you know, because they're playing so hard, and the ball gets away from them and rolls right up to Tick's feet. And so at that point, Tick is there with a friend. This is I don't know if have we met this guy before? Because he has lines and stuff. I mean, he. I think
he was like in their company. I don't think we really met him, but we definitely saw him, and he definitely said stuff.
Right.
But he's just like definitely in their company, so they obviously know each other and have worked with each other.
And he's Korean and American, so he, one of his things were basically this is the racism thing that I was talking about in the beginning, where like we start seeing how other cultures are affected too, is where it's like,
Sure.
you know, he's like, when I go back home, they call me a name, and when I'm here, they call me a name. So what do I do? You know what I mean? Like, where do I go? And you know, he says, you basically the gist at the end is like, you know, she watches movies, he watches books. Like, Tick's problem is that the books couldn't take him far enough away. You know, he gets to this war and for his country, and then, you know, is not even respected for that. So I don't know. I thought a good scene, but obviously the ball playing is just not up to par for me. Prop guy in me was just like, what the fuck are you doing?
It's all we had, guys. Just had a ball.
Yeah.
But yeah, I completely agree. You know, we get to see a little bit more of their relationship. It's nice though, because we don't get this immediate flip where she's like, all right, I'm done. I'm not going to kill this dude. She's still like, I'm going to kill this dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's still there.
I see where you're coming from. It's a little, you know, they get to see a little bit of the perspective from the other sides, from books to, you know, cultures. And like you said, that helps them springboard into her actually reading the book.
Yeah, we definitely see those words definitely mean something to her, and I think, yeah, you're right. She's seeing something that's much different in him than what she thought was there, which is just a killer. So yeah, we go back inside, and she's reading the book to him, and they talk about why he chose that book, and it's because it's, you know, his father's favorite. And there was a quote in there, something about maybe after years of unfair oppression, he gets his revenge, which she is saying, hey, you should ask him what that means. Well, maybe you should just get the real meaning. And then obviously Tick's like, well, listen, we don't speak much, and we've known up until this part how much they don't necessarily get along or are just not in each other's lives. But and you know, his line was, my entire life my father is trying to turn me into something I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like, he doesn't know, but with what we know about Gia, you know, she's hearing that and it's like, wow, same.
Yeah.
Like, same, bro. I feel you a lot about that. And it's nice because I think so much after watching this a few times, it's like to keep in your mind that this Gia person is the demon that we're talking about, and it's not this face that we see.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's like, that is what I feel like is connecting and talking to this person, what's been living in this person for so long. So it's important to like think about it like that, because like I feel like when you have the image of a demon and like hearing the words that this dude is saying to you and being like, wow, like that's how I feel about my mom, even though she doesn't feel like she's my mom, because I'm just a demon that came like 20 something years ago.
Right.
I feel like.
Right. Let's see. We move outside Camp Walker, and we see Tick's friend. This is like the next. It must be a time jump. We see her. We see basically her being led into Camp Walker, and she's led into this dark tent and sort of left there. And we're like, you know, obviously the viewer is thinking, oh my God, she's going to get shot now because they found out something. Yeah. Obviously they turn it upside down, and it's Atticus in there surprising her with a very nice Judy Garland movie.
A little movie.
Yeah. And then, you know, sort of mentions that his uncle helped set it up. So there was a little toss to the Chicago days.
Right.
Yeah, so they just sort of settle in and watch a movie and start getting a little kissy, a little touchy, and she starts feeling her hands turning cold, basically, which is her sign that she's about to turn into this monster again. But it's just a nice moment. It was beautiful, you know, and it was nice to see that she has been through this stuff and ups and downs, and then finally it's like, oh, this could be the turning point where.
Well, you know, I feel like that whole thing was kind of her finally realizing that she does have feelings for this guy, and the demon aspect of her, like, not that aspect, the tail part or whatever that happens or whatever, when that was beginning to occur because they were getting intimate, it's like her being like, oh wow, I actually have to like decide. You know what I mean? I can't, like, before I was going to kill this dude because I didn't think anything about it. But like now, after knowing all this stuff, when I feel it coming on, now I'm second guessing it type of thing. But again, I like, because even though that did happen and she's like, oh, I'm not sure, this, that, or third, she takes that moment to be like, let's go to my ceremonial bed so we can really do this.
Yeah. Get the candles lit.
Because doing it in here wouldn't be the same.
Right. Yeah, they'd have to clean a whole nother room.
Exactly.
Yeah. And this is where, do we see her start to turn it all? No, she controls it. So this is where she first is like,
exactly.
oh,
she stopped it. But I think it was like the first moment where she was like, oh, that's right, I do have to make this decision. And then we see when she's like, oh, let's go over to this place that I got. As she closes the door, I think she makes that final decision, like, all right, I'm going to do this, you know? And then they start.
And she grows a conscience, I guess.
I feel like it's a little bit more, because I think at least she's like, I'm just going to go, I'm going for it. And I'm going to, like, this dude is just a soldier, whatever. He's nice, whatever. But I'm going to kill this dude. And then shows another side, vulnerable side of himself, where he's like, oh, I've never done this before type thing. And she's like, I feel like, again, even further takes her mind away from, like, him being the soldier. Because, like, you know, soldiers, they've had sex with all these girls, you know what I mean, all the time. And, like, he's just seeming more and more like the opposite. And then again, I feel like says stuff that she really, really relates with.
But doesn't Tick tell like other people he's a virgin after this?
Yes.
All right. Like, he definitely told Letty.
Yes, but the whole, also, because, like, there's a lot to unpack in that. And I just mean not so much his side. I just mean her understanding of it. Because when she hears this, I think it's like she's got this idea of what a soldier is.
Right.
And who this dude is. And slowly but surely, she's only hung out with him more and more because he keeps taking a layer of what she believes a soldier would be away and revealing a new type of person to her. And I think that, like, more and more she's, like, intrigued by that and liking that and growing a relation to that for the first time. And then they get to a point where it's like, oh, but I still have to make a decision if I'm going to kill you or not. He drops, like, the last layer, and it's like, I'm not even like about, like, relations and all that. I'm just like, I just like you, you know what I mean? And
you see the good
she's
in me.
Like,
I see
exactly. And she's just like, really, like, wow, I really can't believe this right now. Like, it's finally like, you know what? Maybe this dude is actually cool. And then that's the moment, as we see, where Tick starts to be like, all right, we're going to do this.
Right. Yeah.
But then she says no.
Right.
You know?
And then it goes haywire, right? She tells him to leave.
Exactly. Because
turning.
I feel like, has finally bought all the way into having feelings for this guy and not wanting to kill him. Like, that's not what she wants to do.
Yeah. And I mean,
for the first time.
He sort of confesses his sins too, which is a very interesting thing. Just sort of about, you know, the things he regrets. But yes. So the last line of that is when the mom and her are talking. It's, you summoned me and I'm in this world because of you. And then the mom spits on her face and we're out. Some
heavy spit too, by the way. That was pretty intense. After this, they have their moment of, like, actually all the emotions that I feel like they were feeling the night before, they talk through very quickly in the daytime.
Right.
And kind of, like, commit to each other.
Yeah.
And that they like each other.
This is our reveal of her telling him that she basically is this thing and I was going to kill you. And that he murdered her best friend, which I guess is the huge takeaway. But they kind of come together sort of in the end saying, like, listen, we've both done these monstrous things, but we can be the people we see in each other, which obviously is through all these ups and downs and rocky roads. Like, that's the point that they want to, that they don't have to be these monsters. They can be normal people who have done shitty things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So from there, it gets a lot more sexy. And we back in the tent, and there's a couple things I want to talk about, which is Atticus's O-face. You could tell he's feeling it, and regardless if this is his first or whatever time, it's just funny to see. It's just Atticus being Atticus. I love it.
Yeah,
where it's just like, he's working through it. And he's like, but the other thing too is that like we see that she's controlling her shit. So
she's capable of having sex without killing somebody. Right. So it was definitely a conscious decision, which I think for the first time we realized, which is interesting. Another layer to what has been happening, and I think it's super interesting.
Yeah, we move back to the house, and Jia enters to find a sullen Ma. And this is where she tries to say, listen, you're gonna have to snap out of it. And I love Atticus, and the response is, you're what is it, Kumaho? Kumaho? You're still a Kumaho. You'll kill him sooner.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Right.
So basically saying that, listen, there's nothing you can do about it. You were something else. You're not what you're not a human being. So it's basically it feels like that's what she's saying, is trying to dehumanize. Jia, but yeah, and they say some horrible things like you've made my daughter a monster and a whore, and but which is also weird to me, because it's like she's the one facilitating these dudes, so it's like, why call her a whore?
Because ultimately it's like we see that what's her face, Uma, the mother, is pretty much we can say that she has been traumatized by the entire experience with her daughter. So it's like back in the day when it was first happening, when her daughter's being raped, the psychological break, I'm sure that would happen with somebody like that, separated this person. And then for her to go to a shaman and be like, we're going to put this demon inside your daughter. And then she's thinking, okay, I have my daughter and there's this demon, and this demon will be able to cure all the stuff, and I'll have my daughter back. And it didn't really happen like that. So over time, that she's not seeing two people, she's only seeing the one. She gets to say any of the good stuff or stuff on my terms, that's my daughter. Any of the bad stuff or doing anything else that we don't like, that's the demon. And then what is coming to pass here more and more so, when she's found actual love outside of something that is apparently her family, and I'm talking about the demon, she's finding love in Atticus. She gets to come back to her mother per se and be like, I am worth something, and
that she dehumanized her. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's what she's been doing this entire time. She's disregarded what is actually living in this person. And said the thing that isn't living, the dormant thing inside this person, is the true thing, when the living thing is no, that's not true. I am real, and I feel love, and it's outside of you. And and it's kind of just taking their
the end,
taking their life back.
Right, absolutely. And the end, the Ma says, basically asks us if she's told him that she has these powers, which to me spells an idle threat or a threat. I don't know if it's idle, but you know what I mean? That she's like, oh, well, this is, I've literally lost all of my power and over my daughter. And this is my, it just felt like she was trying to hold on to something there and be like, well, if you don't tell him, I will, or something like that.
Exactly. But, she just that last little push of I'm trying to take away from your mental and have you feel a little maybe he doesn't love me or something could go wrong type thing, which would ultimately help the Uma get what she wants, which is her daughter back. Right. But I don't think that was the case.
Yeah. Well, we move to winter 1950, and we see Jia and Atticus playing in the snow. A very fun moment. Obviously fake snow, but we'll let it go. Yeah, and then we see her showing him an old book that explains what a kumaho is, which confuses me, because at that point you're like, oh, she's telling him about it. But then a moment later, it's like, no, she didn't.
Because she just it's funny because I kind of thought the same thing, but she just framed it as kind of telling him a little story. He likes books. So let's read.
And it's in the wheelhouse of love, of all the stuff he does and his uncle does. But so anyway, they're reading from this book, and this is where Atticus tells her that he has gotten leave and can leave at any time, or can choose to stay. So this sort of, obviously, I think in her mind, it immediately is why wouldn't he go back? Why would you want to stay here? You know what I mean? But he wants her to go with her, and they sort of have a convo, and I don't know how that resolves, but somehow they start having sex again. The good news is I can choose to stay. There's nothing you can't tell me.
Is it?
I'm just, I wonder how they get it to the sex.
He pretty much says, you should come with me. And she's like, there's so much you don't know about me. And he's like, it's all good. Like, don't worry about it. And then starts kissing her.
Right. Okay.
And then it just gets right into it after that.
I'd forgotten. Yeah. It was because it's just weird going from one thing to another. It's too, it's not really a build up to sex, but,
no.
Yeah. So we're, playing in the snow, the book, and, start having sex again. And this is when she starts to figure out that, maybe she can't control it. And at that point, those tentacles go into his eyes, and she starts seeing all of his skeletons in his closet. And we see him getting whipped by his dad. We see him, what was the other thing? We see him pulling the teeth out of presumably, that was her friend. Is that who it was?
Yeah, that was her friend. Or pulling the teeth of her friend, her with the mom. And then I wanted to talk, because this is what I didn't want to kind of spoil before us, but you see him having sex, and it's from a woman that I don't know who it is, and it definitely looks like past.
Oh, really?
It doesn't look like the future. So like that's what I kind of wanted to get at, where it's like, I think it is something about that encounter that he's kind of saying he's never had sex, or maybe stuff like this continues to happen when he has sex.
I mean, it's a great,
so not counting it.
It's a great ploy. It's great to just be like, listen, I know you're really digging on me now, but this is all new to me,
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what I thought it was, but he doesn't strike me as the dude that would like use that in that way. You know what I mean?
Why he doesn't need that?
Exactly. So when I saw that, because it goes like him with the balloon, him reading, him being beat by his father, and then the friend getting her teeth pulled out. That's still past. But then after she lets him go, she sees, I guess this is the future. Because the ones after she throws him off, she has like residual effects, it seems like. And she has a few more, like, she keeps seeing stuff.
Yeah, him
like
his
him
mom.
leaving Chicago.
Oh, that's when we see the whipping and the
right, and then we see
the teeth.
Letty. Then we see him being hung up.
Yeah, and then at that point,
but I think
she kicks him off.
I think it's something about him having sex before, something like that. It had happened, or there's just something there. I feel like, because he keeps saying he's never had sex, and it's like,
but all of that is she's seeing the future, though.
Is that the future though? Because is it? Wait, okay. I guess
it has to be
because the Chicago thing.
You're seeing the bus ticket.
That's him going that we see in the beginning,
right? Yeah, he's going from there. Yeah.
So who is that girl?
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the video. I will gladly look at it several times.
It's not Letty.
Yeah, it's not Letty, and I think it's all in the future. I mean, it's weird that they blur out. They make it kind of tunnel vision-y, so you can't see who it is.
Exactly who that is.
But you see him getting on the bus to Chicago and paying the...
Yeah. Then he's getting baptized.
Yep, getting baptized. And then Letty comes in. But then, the last where we leave that is he's like on a cross, it looks like, strapped to this...
Being drained.
Thing, and he's just like slobbering, and like there's snot coming out of his nose, and he's just... You could tell he's dead or dying. And she obviously sees it all. Yeah, so at that point, Tick is just like freaked, obviously. And
what the hell did you just do?
Yeah, and she's like, adamant, like, you do not go home. If you go home, you'll die. She's screaming, and then obviously he's like, what the fuck is going on? He leaves, and we later see that the Ma is now... in the bedroom with her, comforting her. And they have this really sweet scene of like, her secret's out, and she's lost this person she loves, and she knows his future, and that he's going to die, and she has sort of finds some sort of comfort for her. I know it's a wrap up scene or whatever, just to sort of get them two on the same page again, but to see that sort of you'd be left with that to just be like this person who sort of controlled her from the beginning. Now she's let her secret go, and now she's going back to being controlled again, which what it seems like to me, or that she now is back in the good graces of her daughter. Yeah, it was just like such a weird. I love the scenes of all the tentacles and stuff, and I couldn't imagine, as two people who work in the industry, like seeing that scene shot of being like, all right, now we need to attach all these things to your eyes and your side and your butt and like, they're
that would have been so much
just insane. But it's a great visual, and two people having sex with these like tentacles and things coming out of it. It's
and I mean, especially when she's grabbing them and trying to stop them, that was like it looks amazing. Really works.
Another
they didn't disappoint
monster show. So then after that we start hearing this voiceover, and it's obviously Judy Garland again, much later in life, based on, I guess, an interview she did on a talk show or something. But but yeah, she's basically just talking. We're hearing her talk about her sort of being made the victim of so many untrue things, I think is her word, her words, and about how many people speak ill of her, and I've never met her, and obviously it's a tip of the hat to it's a great way to close all this up and have a bookend, but it's also we're hearing two different Judy Garlands. You know what I mean? We're hearing the beginning one where she's all made up and she's in these movies, and then we're hearing this one where she's like, there are just these people in the world who just have nothing else to do but to speak ill or to make up stories or whatever, and I think it's just gotten to her. I know there's a movie out called Judy that I haven't seen yet that now I want to watch. That sort of deals with some of this stuff. But
I think it just kind of, like you said, it's a good bookend. It's a good, because like we said, these episodes are about the people that are like, the headliners of the episode. She's obviously, this is her episode. So it's kind of just like awesome to have this Judy Garland kind of like snippet overlaying on the journey that she's taken, because it's like we can just see that she pretty much mirroring exactly what she's gone through. She's felt and been talked about in these, like, she's like a myth, you know what I mean? And she has all these connotations over her and things that she's supposed to do, and like way that she's supposed to be that she doesn't want to be, it's being portrayed in all these things, and she's kind of bucking against it, and we see them while this is going place, we see them coming to, I guess, the shaman that they visited before.
Have you thought about like the so there's I feel like Judy Garland was they're using this as a device to show that she is the white perfect case scenario for white people in America, right? Or it seems like that to me. Like that's the vehicle. And so then we're seeing at the end of this that, hey, she didn't have it any more better than, obviously she did. She's Judy Garland. But there's also these other things that like really dig in and take it to a really bad level. But
that's definitely what it is. 'Cause it's like, again, we saw I think that's just good writing, because you hit the same points in new ways again and again until the crescendo, So we had Tick. We see Tick in his little situation. Oh, he's a GI in, Korea or whatever. He's just killing people. It's all great for him.
Right.
But it's not, he's got other stuff going on. We see this girl before, she's beautiful, this, that, and the third. And she can't get a guy, and she can't do anything. Sucks for her too. We see the Asian American dude. He should have it good because he's Asian and he's American. They're, fighting.
But that's not,
it's on both sides. It sucks for him. And then through all that's what we're hearing the entire time. And then you got the mother who's like, she thought having the demon and all that would take care of all her problems. It didn't. It made them worse. And then we see, like we're saying,
Yeah.
it mirrored in Judy Garland, because that would be the ultimate thing. Like, of course, Judy Garland, of all people, can't have a problem. And that's what
Yeah.
we see Gia like looking up to so much. But then we see overlaid, Gia's not realizing this, and she doesn't actually get this. We only get this to realize even this person who everybody aspired to be had a lot that they were unhappy about that didn't make them feel
Right.
good. And it just goes to show that like everybody has a problem,
Right.
and
Yeah.
we all are trying to get past that problem is pretty much what we're seeing. And then
It feels like, yeah, it's
they have
it's
whole
the
shaman thing.
they said it earlier too. I was looking for the actual line, but they said something about like, we're just people. We're all the same people. I'm pretty sure that's the idea, is that they're just trying to reinforce the fact that, listen, it doesn't, I mean, all of this shit, all of this stuff, it just does not matter. We're all just the same, skin and bones, But yeah, I thought it was a very fair way to it did seem to me like kind of a letdown in the end, just not a huge letdown, but just like kind of like oh yeah, I could see how it ends like this.
Yeah, because I mean, I
And,
agree.
like,
Because
yeah, basically we go to this field or this top of the hill or wherever they are, and she sees a fox, and we see this elder, and she's doing this thing with a leaf
Piece of
or
paper, looks
something.
like.
I don't know if I know what it is, but so yeah, and then they sort of realize what's going on, and they all meet up together and are having sort of these conversations that they've worked on this whole episode. And I don't know what the fox visual reference was.
that's what the demon is, like a nine-tailed fox.
Oh, gotcha.
So she's kind of seeing, like, I guess I don't know, it's an incarnation. So
Yeah, maybe.
Whatever. She's seeing it come. I don't think she really saw that. I think that was kind of like in her mind's eye type thing, because the shaman's doing her shamaning.
Gotcha. It was in slow motion, so
Yeah, I think it was.
Just
I
the
think all
fox.
this was like kind of in the mind. Yeah, and it's like it's funny because they're asking all these questions like, we'll pay this price, this, that, and the third. But I mean, we don't see
the price is going to be paid by the mother now. So that's the
yeah.
switch, is that now she's sort of apparently seen the error of her ways and like wants to. I will bear the
She's
cost
like-
for my daughter. Yeah,
Exactly. She's claiming this person as her daughter finally, which is great. But I mean, ultimately, I feel like I agree with you. It was a little like, because this feels very unresolved. Like, it's just like, we got right up to the end too, which is like even crazier to me, because it's like, I understand if they cut it like maybe halfway through this episode or something like that, but I feel like right to the end of her storyline, and then it was just like,
and then
there
that
you go.
piano jingle. I love that piano jingle. If you were to someone who were watching it like I am right now and stumbling through my words, you would see the captions which said, "Will Atticus die?" And then it cuts right to foreboding music. And then she sort of responds with, "Your mortal concerns are meaningless," and she does some paper burning, and then her big sort of ending. This is the end of the scene. The big sort of ramp up is her saying, "You've not even become one with the darkness yet. You will see countless deaths before your journey is done."
right.
So yeah, that's sort of their button basically on the end of not only did you see his death, but you're going to see a lot more before you. It's not just which I guess means that she made up the whole 100 thing, but then it doesn't make sense to me because the shaman or whatever says, "Oh, you're stuck on 99."
Right.
So it's like I still have questions, but
the rules with shamans and all that magic
That's
stuff.
true.
It's always liable to
That's true.
change at the last second.
Whatever fits
So
the
I'm sure they're
narrative.
going to be like, it was 100, but guess
Yeah.
what? It's 200 now.
Or maybe she just stuck on 99 and that's her hell. Who knows?
Right,
But, yeah.
right. You can never get
We'll
100.
find out in episodes to come. Oh man, I thought this initially came out of left field, but when you start breaking it down and really watching the episode, it's like there's so many gems in there, so many great visuals, and all of the effects stuff was great. And I don't know what you thought overall, but I dug it. I think it's
I thought it was a very, very strong episode. I really liked it. I liked everything about it. I liked how it was all its own contained thing for the first half, and then how it blossomed and became a part of everything else. Thought the ending was a little but it was tough. I feel like to have what was, I feel like almost individual movie placed in the center of this story.
I mean, you're completely taken out of the other storyline, but then, you know, obviously it all makes sense in the end. But yeah, that's why at first viewing, it's just like, man, I was ready for more Tick and Letty and more like, you know, Ruby and finding, you know, her strength, and you know, it's just like it was a little,
you know, like, actually we need to talk about this stuff.
Very important that we speak of it. But yeah, so I don't know, there's episode 6. I hope you enjoyed it, and give us a shout if we screwed anything up. Definitely I'm sure we have, or I have, but we haven't been called out yet, so that's a plus.
No, not yet. That's good.
Yeah,
people like it regardless.
Give Sebastian a look on the SoundCloud at North South. What's the actual?
I think
if you just in backspace S, it comes up, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, give him a look, and thank you, Sebastian, for yet another episode. We're almost done. Almost done with this season.
I love it every time. Almost done.
All right, well, check us out on the socials, goingdork.com, and we'll be back with episode 7 pretty soon, so keep an eye out for that. Thanks, Sebastian.
Can't wait. Thank you.
Going Dork stars and is produced by me, Jeremy Balon. For more information on the show, visit goingdork.com and find us on all the socials as Going Dork. We are a part of the Seltzer Kings family of podcasts. For more information on them, check out seltzerkings.com. And if you want to continue the conversation, give me a shout on my socials at Remy Balon on most things, at Jeremy Balon on the Instagram. Thanks for listening.